So this manager, I thought someone would be here, and I made them aware, talked to the pastor, he knew the day was the day, but I wanted to get ready for the council, because he's spoken with council members as well as the mayor. So I wanted to let y'all on time to do your own work, and then with the call the council to vote on it, put it on the vote next one, next week.
Okay. Any discussion? Y'all good with that? We'll do our next meeting.
I'm fine with it, but let me ask you this. They applied for a license for skating, not bingo. Are they doing bingo there, or skating, or both?
So
Let me just say this, that when this got kind of a problem because what it was when Jason and he got into it, and I think he was started with Chief when he was there. What it was is that the skating rink had not been open for 2 years, so the thing that we had was, it's been open that long, do they have to have different guidelines, so they had to sprinkle. So what we did, we met, the mayor, myself, Jason, we met with the representatives, and we said, well, let the state fire marshal make that decision, state fire marshal made a decision, said, if it's used for the same use as the skate rink, then they do not have to have a sprinkler. Now, the bingo had nothing to do with that. This is what the state marshal said, fire marshal said, if it's used for the same thing as it was previously, then it can still be used, then we don't have to be sprinkled. That's as far as staff got into it. Everything else like bingo, they said, well, with the skate rink and bingo, that's all that I know. That's what I have. That's what I had. Jason's doing. Jason is doing the stuff.
I've reached out already. I haven't heard back yet. So in the state fire marshal's office, from what I was relayed to, when they gave a ruling on what was going to be required for that to reopen as a skating rink, like Mr. Pope said, that was the only intended use. So when this original bingo application came in, they didn't even have a building at that time. So technically, it was a null and void issue because they didn't have a building, so the permit couldn't be issued no matter what. Now they want to use this location. Because the state fire marshal ruled on this, the state fire marshal is the one that's going to have to say yes or no, they can or can't do it in this building. Because they've already given a ruling on the skating rink. We kind of punted to them because of some other background issues. They're the ones, in my opinion, that needs to rule on whether this can or cannot happen in this building and what upgrades will need to be required, if any, for it to happen in that building.
And I would say this, I actually spoke to the chief deputy, forgot his name, Jason, what's his name? The fire marshal of the state over this county.
Oh, Riley Potion.
Huh?
Riley Potion.
I spoke to him myself, and they said they're done with it. His exact words to me was at that point, the state has nothing to do with it, it's up to the city. If there's policy that restricts them from doing it, then that's it, that's the exact conversation. But then I spoke to Bingo Commission, spoke to the DA, spoke to all these people who probably don't even have anything to do with this, to get clarification on like what can and cannot happen in regards to policy. From my knowledge, there was nothing that kept them against doing it. It's kind of like in Struts or No Mushroom. They're restaurants, but then they also have bingo once a week. So that's how it was explained to me.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
But that's exactly how they explained it to me in the conversation.
It's not the same.
If the state comes back to me and they punt it back to us and say they're done with it and it's up to us, then there's likely, depending on numbers, going to be some other restrictions they have to comply with before it can allow it.
I just want to say,
In what way?
I just want to say, sports staff. When the question came up, the only question we wanted to answer if they wanted to use it for the same use. It was not about bingo being included. It was the same use. Because the only thing they were going to use it for was a skating rink. And now all the bingo companies, again, Jack, the building was not talking about for anything else but for a skating rink.
When? Because we had this conversation last summer.
I understand the conversation that
It was
staff.
reported on Anniston City as well.
That's what I'm saying. The staff, when we talk about the skating rink.
Staff was here.
No, I'm talking about the building in question. The only question we had for the fire marshal was could it be used for the purpose it was used before, a skating rink. That's the question. That's what we took before the fire marshal. Nothing about bingo.
But that conversation has been had for
Not that big.
months.
It doesn't matter. The code is the code. Is
But
what
the
I want
code
to tell you.
doesn't go against it.
Yeah, the code does go against that. Actually, the current code would go against that being the skating rink with its current safety configuration in it and a bingo hall. It would go against either one. The current code would. Now, what the state fire marshal ruled on the skating rink was, it was a skating rink, they're bringing it back as a skating rink. We're gonna allow it to function. The code is applicable when the facility is built. So the building was built, it was code compliant at the time it was built, it was code compliant when it was closed as a skating rink. If they're gonna reopen it as a skating rink, now, typically the rule is 6 months or a year, depending on the municipality, you gotta bring it up to full code. But the state fire marshal gave them some grace and allowing them to go ahead and reopen it as a skating rink. When you start changing the occupancy, and you are changing the occupancy when you go to a bingo parlor, it's still an assembly occupancy, but it's a different assembly occupancy. It has different requirements for plumbing facilities and fixture counts. It has different requirements for exits. It has different requirements for spacing. But it's one thing when you got a big open empty skating rink and you have an incident, everybody can get out. It's a whole other thing when you got rows of tables in there, people playing bingo. It's a different animal. You gotta allow the code to be applied, in my opinion, in this instance. I don't want to restrict somebody from operating a business or anything of that nature, but I do believe that before we make any decisions on this, we need some kind of letter of concurrence with both our fire marshal and our fire chief and the state fire marshal, and have an understanding of exactly how that building's going to be used. If it's going to be used as a skating rink, the decision's already been made. No problem. When you start putting tables and chairs in there, you change things.
So if the state is saying, I'm gonna leave it up to the city, and the city is saying, I'm gonna leave it up to the state, who makes that decision?
Well, one of them has to make it.
Neither one wants to make the decision.
It doesn't matter if they want to or not. One of them has to make that decision.
I'm reaching out to the state for verification that they're done with the skating rink as far as the skating rink is concerned. They didn't rule on the bingo, they ruled on the skating rink. If they tell me they're done, then the bingo side comes back to us. They're not gonna overrule local jurisdiction unless asked to input in the skating rink issue they want. Their input's been given on the skating rink. If they say they're done with it, then anything else for that building comes back to the city.
So the issue with code is the occupancy level.
The change
It's
of occupancy.
It's a life safety issue is what it is. It may require the building, I don't know. I mean, without doing the code research, I can't tell you, but I don't know how big the facility is. I don't know what the size of the facility.
400 and something.
The facility is, the occupancy for the skating is one thing. The occupancy for tables and chairs is something altogether different. It changes. It's based on square footage. It's based on use per square foot. And in a bingo type situation, the occupancy is going to be one person for every 15 square feet of space. That's the occupant load of that building.
There's two conversations with that. When they came here talking about bingo, that was bingo separate. When they came here talking to council, that was bingo separate. When we talked about the building we're referring to now, when we had this conversation, it was not about bingo. It was about they wanted to use it again as a skating rink. And because it was changing uses, I mean, they had it open so many years, that was what we went to state fire marshal about. The bingo has nothing to do with that building, because we had no discussion about bingo. The bingo that was discussed in here about having a bingo in a building, but not that building. When we went to state fire marshal, we were saying they came to us because they said they wanted to use this for a skating rink again. Not bingo. Bingo had nothing to do with the conversation. And we were saying no because they had put that time. What we said to them, with the mayor, myself, Jason, we were all sitting in the building and representatives from their church as well. We will check with state fire marshal. Whatever he says about the use of that building for a skating rink, we will go with it. Then all of a sudden, after it was approved by the fire marshal for a skating rink, now we send bingo as well. I understand what's being said here about bingo in another building, but bingo was not a part of that conversation. The only thing about that conversation, can we use this building again without making sure it goes to the follow the code, like getting the sprinkler system, because that was a concern. And when the state fire marshal said they could, we left it alone. Then the bingo came up
Well,
after.
that's the argument.
There are a lot of
That's the
variables.
sole argument that conversation was absolutely there.
Well, no, I knew conversation because I was there. It was, and the mayor was there, Jason was there, they had two representatives there.
Look, there are a lot of variables in the code. There are a lot of opportunities for resolution in there that it's not strictly black and white the way the code's written. There are some opportunities there. They want to sit down and figure out how to make it work. There's a solution. We do it. I do it every day. Every single day I meet with some fire marshal, city official somewhere and talk to them about how to make something work that, you know, and meet the code. There are a lot of variables. There's 100 ways to do every one of these things. So I'm not sitting here saying that, and I don't think Jason is either, saying it can't happen. Or it can't happen without other improvements. It may require other improvements, it may not. It may require some more exit doors to be cut in. It may require we may be able to figure out a way to do it without sprinklers. I mean, they need to hire a professional and get them to come in there and do the work and work with the fire marshal, whether it's the state or local guy, and get it done. I mean, there's a solution. That's why I went to school. You can't have a space like that can put that many people in it and not have somebody look at it. And I'm sure they did for the skating rink. I'm assuming they had an architect on record for the skating rink. I don't know how we get there then. I don't know how something like that gets reopened without. I'm a little disappointed with the state fire marshal at this point too. That says, "Oh yeah, you can go back the way it was because we didn't change anything." But
The state fire marshal was very aware that they want to use it.
I mean,
and literally said to me that.
that's dangerous.
So, let me ask this question.
Or the chief deputy.
It's dangerous for the people that are using that facility.
Here's my concern. Are we okay with this being used as a bingo hall only? Because they have a partnership with another business in town that was supposed to be started at something, and it's no longer operating that. Are they gonna just do what they can to get the doors open, and then revert to something else? Well, let's be honest. The coffee house, they're still training somebody to make coffee. We went out there for a grand opening, only to find out the machine was down, and that's been, 6 months ago? And it's taking that long to find somebody to be trained. They said now they can't get anybody trained to run a coffee house. That's my concern. Are we dealing, because what I don't want to see us going through is dealing with people who are going to have dual uses for things and go up front with one idea, and the whole time get ready to back doors or something else. Our city has made we have too many cases on file where we made a mistake and we go back and fix it. So that's my concern.
And that's the only concern of staff. All I'm saying is this, all we need to know is what it's gonna be used for, and it seems like we have not got that straight. Even if we said, like you said, it was gonna be for bingo hall only, then it's changed uses, so then it will require us change. That's the whole point I'm making, if you're gonna change it.
The law states very clearly if it changes use and it's greater than 2,500 square feet, or it is an assembly occupancy, it is required to have a design professional do the work. That's the law. That's the state law. That's not the city law. That's not anybody else. That is the law. It says that if you got it for assembly, or if it is larger than 2,500 square feet, it must have a design professional. They got Music City Bagels, 1,500 square feet of space, had to have a design professional come in and do a layout for them so that they could open. Why? Because it's an assembly space. It only holds 20 people. It's still an assembly space, and the law requires that. The city has enforced that. Any restaurant qualifies as an assembly space. Any place that has a gathering of more than 50 people qualifies as assembly
So do
space.
they provide them?
I don't know.
This
this is what needs to happen. They need to hire a design professional. They need to get their plans fixed and submit those plans to city staff for review, because it's a change of use.
Unless they have a different location they want to try to open this in.
So what comes before us, if it says skating rink, that's what they're applying for, and we vote yes or no on the skating rink.
Fire marshal's already made that decision, so the state fire marshal has already made that decision, so that can operate. There's nothing for anybody to do there, whether it was,
But what's coming before us is whether they can use it also as a
bingo, yeah, a bingo hall.
It's 2 locations, I don't know what other location is. It's 2 locations. I don't know what other it is. They're coming on your ordinance, and there's 2 locations, that are one on the Sun Spring and one on the church names. I don't, the locations on that. I can't tell you.
Okay, so in accordance with state law, we just require them to, like Chief Waldrop said, provide us a design, or provide them the design.
why would it have to come before us at all at that point?
Only the bingo, that's the council has to approve for bingo.
Okay, well, my personal opinion on it would be that I don't have any problem authorizing the bingo piece, provided all the requirements have been met, satisfy state and city code.
And then we have a distinct.
And there's a path for
What
that.
those requirements are.
It's pretty,
Exactly what's spelled out.
That's gonna be where, it's gonna be the 2021 codes that were.
it's gonna be the international building, 2021 International Building Code is gonna define what's gotta be done.
Okay. Whatever.
Because we just approved that. Got it.
So Jason will reach out. I think Jason will reach out and
Is their application in before we do the code?
We've already approved it.
All right, well-
Will not be saved.
Was their application in before that? Before we approve the code?
But then they'd have to, meet the 2015. No, they haven't submitted anything yet for it, so it doesn't. As of March 1, you had to, anything that you submitted for March 1 had to meet 2021, and we approved that back in November or December, so they had plenty of time to know that this was coming. The difference between the 2015 code and the 2021 code is minimal.
Yeah, I said it.
They update that code every 3 years.
You said, they hadn't submitted to be on the agenda before?
No, they hadn't submitted their design plan
Oh,
for
okay.
review. That's where that code applies. It doesn't apply to us. We're not expected to understand that.
All right, good?
Mhm.
All right. Alcohol license, retail beer, office premises only, retail table wine, office, off premises only. Application for Alden Incorporated, located at 53 Raymond Cullen Boulevard, within the corporate city limits. We also have a lounge retail liquor, class 1 application for Blues Karaoke Bar, and that's located on 1013 the US Highway 431, and that's also within the city, corporate city limits.
everything's there, both of these on the consent agenda.
All right, we have some CDBG substandard structures, that are for demolition. Any questions on that?
Is anyone of them belong to the, SNL?
No, they do not.
Our next discussion is a utility easement for proposed water main for Anniston Waterworks and Sewer Board.
Yeah, this is also, this is the first time brought before you, but it's also on the, consent agenda. What happened when Aldott came in, the location they were gonna place this water main before, Aldott wouldn't approve it, so we had to come up with something for all days, so we had an alternate, I give them the easement, so they can continue construction without a problem. As the water got involved in this, helped us out to get this done, so we don't slow down this construction all day. That's all, just an easement. City property, we just need to give them the easement, not a problem, we went through it, so the construction continues on time.
It's just running up that east side of 21, just outside of the right of way, correct?
Yes, sir, and because Aldott wouldn't.
Yeah, I get it.
And I think, Bruce, they had given you you had some information
right, I think it's like right at the cutoff of Ward 1 and Ward 3 off of Woodstock. There's an area that an elderly couple has asked for a speed bump. I don't know the exact road that intersects it, so I'll have to double check that. But these items aren't due until what, May?
No.
Second week in May, we all second week in May.
We can get together and figure out where that.
It's like right in between, I don't think it's this.
Well, as it came up the last time on that, about Valley Place, those people were asking for speed bumps as well. And so I talked to the traffic people and they said they would not help. I'm talking about the police department. So and they did a study, so I don't know if that would be the answer or not, but you might want to ask them for another.
I know in the Woodstock area, you know, you have a lot of teenagers that are coming in and out of the schools and driving really fast. And on Woodstock, there's a lot of elderly people that live on that strip, and so there have been a lot of complaints in that area. So I don't know if that's necessarily something we address with speed bumps, something we address with the school, whatever that looks like. But I do know that they've been asking for a long time about those speed bumps in that area. Mr. Coates, you have some capital improvement updates?
I sent this out, and I don't know if all council got it, but I wanted to, as I promised, staff promised when we gave the update, we're gonna give continued updates, and if you looked over, if there any questions, anybody have any questions, as a matter of fact, Mr. Turner said he'd be here tonight, because I rolled through, and they're making good progress on 14th Street, and Ed seems to think, maybe by mid to end of May, we may even have paving done as well. So they're moving right along, because I think when I went last time, I was glad at and I'm sure they're close to the drainage is almost already taken care of.
They're actually, they got off 14th Street completely. Got to do some tie-ins along there, but they're ready to start paying off. Talk to the county, hopefully they'll be able to start next month. So we're moving along really fast.
So the paving hasn't started?
So,
Okay, good.
the drainage, just the drainage.
I had some complaints and they were saying the paving is terrible, and I'm thinking in my mind I haven't started the paving. So that answers the question.
It's just a patching, and it is going to be terrible till they get the final paving down. It'll be really, really nice.
Okay, that's good. I'm just glad to know they haven't started the paving yet.
That's why I provided you updates, so we'll kind of do those periodically.
I would say on City Hall, I say we're waiting on plans for the architect to put some stuff together. I think it'd be worthwhile for council and department heads all kind of sit together initially. I know he's got an initial schematic there, but I know I've heard some comments in the community. I know some other folks have too, and reading through some of them, I feel like some of them are valid in their questions and concerns, and I think we ought to, before we kind of push forward with the plan as it is, that we have a moment to talk. So I would ask that we schedule something there, and whether it's a public forum or not, it's neither here nor there to me, but I feel like we need some kind of charrette process, if you will, to make sure that it's the public's building, it's not ours. And so I feel like public input should be offered, or at least received, what we do with it is what we ultimately do with it, but I think it's important to allow our individuals in the community that want some input in the way that building is developed to have some. There may be reasons why we don't do what they want. It's worth it.
And another thing, I appreciate, Mr. Folks, this update, because this is real critical, that we know what's going on, and I'm still getting complaints about flooding in Golden Springs, and they're blaming it on the new housing development. I don't know if that's it or not, but I don't really know what to tell them other than they're studying it right now. And y'all, I know everyone's got a lot on their plate, but when y'all know a timeline or something like that, I would appreciate it, so I can pass it on to these people who are very upset, time. I know that's hard to do, though.
Yes, ma'am, until we're close on Ward 2 than we are on Golden Springs this start. So like as soon as we get a timeline, because this is the only thing we can say is they go through the process. That's what they call us about was the flooding for the legal process, and we could just keep asking the question. That's all we can do. But we're not any closer.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. one of the other things I want to make sure, yeah, everybody got an invitation to the Jazz in the Park. That's gonna happen on 15th Street. I don't know if there was supposed to be an invitation sent out to
For
each
the
council.
kids, innocent mind.
Well, they're gonna be performing, but this is really, the mural park that we have there, open spaces, sacred places. They're actually coming in from Maryland to actually recognize the spot again. So at 12 o'clock, 12 noon to 12 noon to 1 to 2 o'clock, we're gonna have a meeting in the Mr. Jackson's spot with the open spaces and sacred places. Then at 3 o'clock, they're gonna have the Jazz in the park when the high school comes in. But really all behind that mural and open spaces. And I think if you have a chance to come and really understand how big this open spaces, sacred places is, and Anniston's been profiled quite a bit in that mural park, so that's what's going on right now today. But that's just an invitation. It said that the Community Foundation, we're doing this Church of Community Foundation, who actually has the grant is done through the Community Foundation of East Alabama, along with this open spaces, sacred places, which is statewide, student.
So this starts, I'm sorry, to interrupt you, this starts at 2?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood, but I thought you said the Anniston High Jazz Band was gonna be there at 3, did I?
Is it three?
It says 2 to 3, right?
It's from 2 to 3.
Okay, 2 to 3.
Uh-huh.
Well, from 12 to 2, they're gonna be in Mr. Jackson's place from 12 to 2.
I see, okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
building was bought, correct?
The building,
Where you said Mr. Jackson's building, right, I'm sorry, let me know.
the coffee shop.
The coffee shop, and correct me if I'm wrong, was just bought by the church on the corner, correct? That's no longer owned by us Anniston Foundation, am I correct?
The coffee shop?
That's on West 15th Street?
Right.
The building,
Bought by who?
the church that's on the corner.
No. I can, no, let me say that. I don't have any information to that.
Just curious,
I thought they bought Charles Z portion.
because
No,
that's what they bought the building.
Charles Z is something different on the other side.
Right.
What's his name, the guy, he goes to that church, but he's actually the one that actually owns that building. And he's doing the work in there, what's it?
Leonard Gator.
Gaither, Mr.
Yeah,
Gaither.
Mr.
Mr. Gaither owns that building, yeah, he knows that church, but he owns that building there, he owns the property across the street. He's actually doing something there that is talking about becoming a washateria. Mr. Gaither, so we're aware of that. Matter of fact, Jack, we just got one of the grants to do some facade, so he's doing a lot of work himself, so he's actually on that, he owns that building.
Yeah, so that building is, he only owns the
Charlotte Z.
Charles Z.
Right. Mr. Jackson owns the coffee shop. Two different.
Mr. Jackson or the West Anniston Foundation?
Mr. Jackson, either or, I don't want to comment on it. I don't know. But Mr. Jackson is the one that wanted contact. General Jackson wanted contact.
All right, anything else?
One other thing, next week, the reminder of the council, on next week that we have on next Tuesday at 4 o'clock, the special called work session. And we're going to talk about the debris policy, but also I want to bring up as well, and that won't take that long, with some suggestions, because I heard the council said about using some of the bond money to actually enhance our recreational programs, golf course and other things like that. So I've gotten the partner to get some things together, and I want to talk with someone from the golf course, talk to the guy, and I think we got some ideas that actually can do some things that will not only enhance our recreation program, but also economically help us out as well. So things, swimming pool in South Anniston, actually put a splash pad on the inside, some other things like the golf course, $300,000 to the golf course. So I think we've got some good things to do with recreation, and we'll look at what other cities have done as well with some of this racetrack. And they put a lot toward recreation and other things, but we don't have to do racetrack. I think we got enough in the bond that we can do some exciting things for our recreation. So I will bring it before the council next week. On that second time.